Hey everyone, it's the Nitty Professor. I'm here with Ari to talk to you about my rock day experience, and as I tell my story about my experience with rock day today, I'd love to know if you also had a celebration or a gathering or some kind of festivities connected with rock day. It'd be interesting to trade notes, So I had a show and tell, so I did a little short last night about this yarn that I finished, the Frabjous Fibers in the Nick of Lime Polworth Roving. Turned out really good, and it was a fun spin. So I'm kind of stuck in a rut with my spinning. I'll divide my fiber into 3 relatively equal portions and then make a 3-ply yarn. So turned out really well, and not sure what I'm going to make with it, but it's going to be spectacular, whatever it is. Right, baby? Yeah. How about a dog sweater? Maybe I should do that. He likes his Chris's toy. He also has whatever this is. I'm not sure we figured out if that's a raccoon/penguin. I'm not sure, but he likes that one too. So what else can I show you? I meant to bring these today, but I actually finished a pair of socks, which you will recognize. Ta-da! I finished my pink and purple socks. I'm kind of psyched. So I almost put them on. I was like, no, I gotta keep them pristine so that I can show everyone. And what I think is sort of phenomenal is I didn't plan this. So I finished the first sock. I have no idea which one anymore was first. But I finished the first sock and I just kept knitting. I don't try to, figure out where one ends and the other begins. But they turned out crazy even. I mean, this was just a total fluke as far as I'm concerned. Because, how would the yarn skein know my measurements of my socks? It's just crazy to me that they are so symmetrical. And I still have a fair amount of yarn left. So like I say, I almost feel like I can make a shorty out of that. But this will go into my next, whenever it is, after I finish this one and get enough socks, knit up my next leftover sock yarn sweater. Because I'm really enjoying the first one that I'm making good progress on. So yeah, I actually have two finished objects to share. So in any case, we're in South Dakota, northeast South Dakota, and we have an annual Rock Day festivity. It's a lot of fun. Never know who's going to come, but I've only been going to it for 3 or 4 years. In fact, I have in book 1, as some of you know, I have a Rock Day scene, which was a lot of fun to write. I probably ought to do that again. I've only done it the one time. I mention it in my novels, but I don't necessarily go into it, as far as including into the plot. But it would be fun to do that again. I'll have to think about it for as I contemplate books 9 and 10. I'm trying to decide. I'm close to the end of book 8. So in any case, there were probably about 20 of us. Our usual Fiber Guild meetings, we might be like 5. I mean, I've been to Fiber Guild meetings where there were 3 of us. On rare occasion, we might get up to like 8. But today, I'm kind of guessing. I didn't personally count all the people that were there, but I'm just trying to picture all the spinning wheels in my mind, and I think there were about 20 people. Now, that being said, there was one man. I was glad there was one man. It'd be nice to have a better mix, more balanced mix of men and women, but it was a good age range, I think. Couple of people in their 20s and at least one person in their 80s, so it's a pretty good age range. What's the matter, huh? You chewing on your owl, raccoon? Not sure what it is. It was really cool to survey all the spinning wheels that people brought into space. I kind of was asking people about their wheels. There was one other guy with a Lendrum there, so I thought that was very cool, that I wasn't the only person with a Lendrum. And he had his for like 10 years, so he was telling me that he's still able to get parts, even though we're pretty sure that they stopped making them. He said he lost a tensioner and he had to replace that, and a drive band, and he didn't have any problem. He recommended Woolery to me. So I was kind of relieved to hear that. I've only had my Lendrum for 3 or 4 years, but it is my sort of workhorse wheel at this point. I do all my spinning of the singles on there, and then I ply on my Spinolution Echo. But there was someone there with one of those old-fashioned looking Kromskys, and she was explaining to me how it was designed based on an old-fashioned Scandinavian wheel, which I didn't realize, because of course they're made in Poland, but I didn't realize that it was based on a Scandinavian model. So that was kind of cool. It was a double drive. I've never spun on one of those. But I would like to learn. There was someone with a Magicraft wheel. There were a couple of Ashfords, a Spinolution Polywog. It was a good variety. It's just kind of fun to see. Oh, and 2 people had e-spinners, so those were cool to watch too. And speaking of those people, so 2 people were there from that Gnome Schoolhouse in North Dakota, where they have classes and a lot of lore about fiber crafting. And I have been wanting to go there for a long time. I'm curious if any of you have gone to that schoolhouse in North Dakota where they converted it into this sort of fiber crafting mecca. I've seen a lot of videos, and it's probably all of like 3 hours from here, right? I could get there easily. I just need to find the time. Of course, now with a tired puppy, it's a little tricky. I gotta wait till he gets just a little bit older. And he's a little bit more mature to take on a road trip like that, especially if I'm going to have him in like a hotel or something. But I would really like to do that. And so I was talking about my novels and got some interest, which was really cool. And one of the women who is from the Gnome Schoolhouse in North Dakota said I should come and do a talk and presentation on my novels and bring some up for sale. So I'll probably try to do that. I think she was saying in May, and that was really exciting. And I would like to go up there and take a class. They have classes on things that I haven't done, like felting and dyeing and stuff like that. So it was really neat to meet those people. People came from, it was literally 3 states, which I think is cool. So we're in not like way in the northeast corner of the state, but within an hour and a half of Minnesota, and it only takes like 40 minutes to get up to North Dakota. So there was someone there from Minnesota and several people, like at least 4 people from North Dakota, and then the rest from various areas along I-29, which is kind of par for the course. Several knitters. It was interesting to learn about the different patterns that people were knitting. It was a potluck, so I got there a little late and left a little early because I wanted to get home to my puppy. Didn't want to stick my son with babysitting him all day long. He did fine. He's all worn out. Look at that. But one thing that happened, which was really cute. So one of our members had a surprise birth. They raised goats. And apparently there was some shenanigans going on between a male and female goat that weren't necessarily patrolled. So yesterday, there was a surprise and premature birth of 2 tiny goats. So she just brought them to the meeting, and it was really sweet. They were in a box, and she let them. They kind of were out in the middle of the room and had a rug, and they had these little coats on. And she had this big bottle of formula for them. She's been raising goats for a long time, so I thought it was really cool. She knew what she was doing, and people were getting to just sort of encourage them to stand and pet them a little bit and feed them and just ooh and ah over them. They were just the cutest little things. I asked what breed they were, and I didn't quite get exactly. I don't know a whole lot about goats, but they were probably as big as like cats. And black and white. And it was just so cute to have these goats bleeding in the middle of the gathering. People were talking about, their latest projects and what they were working on. So it was just a really fun experience. Especially, with all the crap that's going on in the world. We carefully avoided discussion of matters that are obviously disturbing to everyone. Was kind of a good respite, because then immediately when I got home, I was like, what's going on in the news now? And it was just really nice to have a chance to just be fiber crafters for a little bit and just be friends and just support each other and just not care, what people's political leanings were, or, what their thoughts were on what's going on, because things can get a little contentious. So it was a really great opportunity to just build community surrounding fiber and celebrate a really cool day that allows us to feel like our being spinners and knitters, etc., is worth celebrating and is worth enjoying and worth gathering around and communing around. Just all the sharing about the projects, the different things that people were spinning. Like woman was talking about how she had sheep and she'd never spun, and this other friend who was in the group did all the carding for her, and she had this big garbage bag full of white wool that she was going to spin, and she was trying to figure out what she was going to do with it. That was the one with the Kromsky wheel. And the guy with the Lendrum wheel had this huge cloud of pink and blue wool that he was spinning, and he said it'd been around for like 10 years. That wool had been sitting around, and he was glad to have an opportunity to work on it. Several people were like, well, I haven't spun since the last rock day, and they were just kind of glad to have an opportunity to get their wheels out. And then there are others of us who spin on a regular basis. But it didn't matter, it's just, we're all just gathering in joyful community surrounding a hobby that we love and that gives us meaning. There was one woman who was talking about how she was turning all of her yarn scraps into sort of blankets and beds for kittens and puppies at a veterinary hospital. So she linked up with a veterinary hospital, and she's perfectly fine with having a stash full of random yarn, and she crochets them into these blankets. And she's like, the kittens don't care what colors they are, she can use any yarn in there, and they're appreciated and they serve a real purpose. And she was saying how the animals, there was something about the handmade blankets that they preferred to be on when they were, just fresh into the world or sick or whatever. I thought that was a really cool way to enjoy your hobby and add a dimension of meaning to it, and gift it to animals like that, because they're not going to critique your work or question whether the gift was well intended or whatever. They're just going to be better off because of that attention, that like gesture of care that helps them to get a better start in life. So I thought that was really sweet. I'm trying to think of some of the other projects. I think one person was talking about a sweater cowl that they had done, and another person was working on an Andrea Mowry pattern that they were knitting up. And some people just, like I say, spin regularly, so they didn't really have a whole lot to say about this particular project or this particular wool. But everyone had their own little story, and everyone had their own little contribution to make to just the sharing that was going on. So in any case, that was sort of my rock day gathering adventure. It was cold, but the weather permitted us to not have to worry. It wasn't like it was snowing, it wasn't like the parking lot was covered with ice. The food was good. The fellowship was great. And I'd love to know if you did anything for rock day, and if you were able to enjoy your crafting, if you made new friends or new connections, or just maybe you go every year and you've been doing it for 40 years and you have your reasons for, that kind of continuity. So feel free to share in the comments if you're interested, and would love to know a little bit more. I hope your Rock Day celebration was great. Hope your January, apart from, some of the terrible things that are going on at levels that we can't always control, is getting off to a nice start, and that you're feeling energized enough to continue to just continue, just to continue on and resist in whatever way works for you, and move forward and not lose hope. That's the most important thing. Today was a good day for me to keep up my hope that people are good, people are capable of good ethics, of good community. There's no reason to give up, because I've got friends and I have a hobby that allows me to enjoy being a human being. So I hope that's the case for you too, and that you're getting some good projects done. Look forward to learning about those. Y'all take care. Bye.